Ladies and gentlemen, the Open Tabs podcast returns for one of our favorite episodes of the year. Joe Carlos, how are you, sir?
I'm good, brother, and yourself?
I'm doing very well. We're
Wonderful.
joined by our favorite barrister from state of Alabama, Chris Lee. How are you?
Aloha,
Yes.
friends.
Hello, Chris. Good to see you.
Aloha indeed, man. I trust that we all had wonderful weeks. The weather has beat down upon some of these areas. We were lucky enough to escape some snow this time in Nashville, but it was bitterly cold. Joe, how much snow did y'all get?
Not you mean when? Like
this week?
Did you? It was a little bit, but I guess it was enough to cancel school or whatever. But I didn't think it was. I mean, it was what it was. So
I think that like the county line or like perimeter was the drawing line because my mom got like 4 or 5 inches where she was.
Wow. Yeah, no, we didn't have that. I saw it snowing. I didn't even look outside, man. I was doing, I don't know what I was watching True Detective season 1 and editing pictures, and I wasn't even paying attention. And then I went to bed, and by the time I woke up, whatever was there, by the time I woke up, the sun was out.
Okay.
And whatever was there, because we knew there was no school, so that and Morehouse was remote. And my first meeting, bro, wasn't until I don't even know what time, but the sun was out, so I was good.
Nice.
So
nice.
Here we are.
Nice. Chris, did you all have any snow hunts still?
Oddly enough, we did not have any snow. In fact, people were calling me from South Alabama and so forth, like, how's it up there? I'm like, it's sunny, but it's 14 degrees. But, Mobile, I think they said down by the coast had 10 inches of snow, and they were showing the weather cams from down south with the waves from Gulf Shores washing up on snowy beaches. So it was
that looked amazing. I have
wild and crazy to see, and especially seeing it how it go in reverse how it usually is here in the state. We usually get the snow, and they might get a little bit of cold weather, and so
yeah, that's crowd. That's wild. My buddy Jeff Williams down in Louisiana in New Orleans. One of the big Zulu.
Jackson Square was beautiful.
Yeah, man. He posted pictures like as it was going. You know what I mean? We have a group. I'm in a fantasy football league with the Southern players. They all attended Southern University, or the vast majority of them anyway. And they were just amazed by the amount of snow. I think they got 10 inches. My friend Amanda's daughter Miranda had never seen snow, and she had been praying for snow, so she was excited to be out in it. And apparently, Amanda pelted them with snowballs, and I know she's probably listening, so I hope she took some mercy on those kids out there in New Orleans. But
that is a lot of snow, no matter where you are, be it north or south.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So a lot is going on this week. I think we should probably start with the national championship game. Joe, you were in attendance in the lovely Mercedes-Benz Dome. Tell us about your experience, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. I had a wonderful time there. I would like to say once in a lifetime, but I hope not. I as I've been a season ticket holder for the Falcons since 2015, and at Georgia Dome, and then since 2018 at Mercedes-Benz. And I, it's interesting because I'm in 118. I'm in the west end zone, and right off the Bud Light bar. I love my view. I love the seats. It's great. So I was invited by my good friend, my dear friend Javaro Edwards, from the Morris College class of '92. He said he hit me up. I was in Houston, and he hit me up, and he said, "Hey," he just texted me like, "You want to go to the national championship game?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to go to the national. Yeah, of course." At the time, it was mid-December. And at the time, I thought, well, hey, maybe Texas
will
be
a rooting interest.
Yeah, I had maybe Texas will be in this game. Yes. First of all, why would you ever say no? But secondly, thinking, the chance to actually see my team there would be special. But as time went on, obviously that changed, unfortunately, on January 10th. But either way, I was very excited to go. It was a really cold day, and MLK Day was a very cold day, and I just want to say this. As I rode up, normally I park, you both know this probably. I park at the Georgia Aquarium and I walk to the, Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yes.
That day, I said, you know what? I don't want to do that walk. It's too long. It's too cold to do that walk. And so I said, let me park at the Georgia Bar. And
Mm.
so my wife, who'd been in South Africa, had just gotten back, and we found her bar card, and I go down Marietta, and it was interesting because there were long lines of people wearing red, a lot of green, a
Uh-huh.
lot of green, a lot of red as I'm going down Marietta, and I'm passing Embassy Suites on my left, and eventually the College Football Hall of Fame on my right. There are a lot of lines coming out of there. Chick-fil-A was popping right there. That's next to the College Football Hall of Fame. And I was
Hmm.
like, why are all these lines here? But people were going in, fans were going in there. And then there were lines going into what was now is the campus. So whenever a game happens, they kind of call it a campus. It's Georgia World Congress Center, the stadium, the whole thing. It's a campus, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, there were lines of people going in, and I said, "Man, this is not a Falcon game, man. This is now you'll see people walking, but I'm pulling up at 5:30, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the kickoff is at 7:30. I'm on Marietta Street at 5:30, passing the Omni, and
Mm.
I park, I walk, I get out, I walk. Of course, it worked about perfectly at the bar. No issues whatsoever. The lady
Mhm.
didn't really inspect the card. It was so cold. I just showed it, and she had no problem. It's great to be black, and so I walk back out. I'm walking through. I'm walking with a throng of Notre Dame fans, and then
Uh-huh.
across the street in front of State Farm, and then it's a throng of like Ohio State fans. As always, brothers on the corner hustling the fireballs and the Hennessy,
Yes, sir.
the fireball and the Hennessy, just trying to get you warm on the
Yes,
way
sir.
in.
Get some in your chest.
Yeah, some on your chest on the way in. We walk in. They've wrapped the stadium. It's really cool. Like, okay, they wrapped the Signia, the brand new hotel. So that's
Mm.
cool. And in the moment, I thought I downloaded my ticket.
Mm.
I did not download my ticket.
Oh yeah, and in those crowds, it's so hard to get a signal.
It was I was panicked
I'm sure.
outside because I didn't download my ticket. I thought I was going to have to walk into the Georgia World Congress Center, use the Wi-Fi. I'm like literally outside the gate. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought I was going to have to walk all the way to Georgia World Congress Center, come back, and use the Wi-Fi, download the
Yeah.
ticket. Then I
Yeah.
couldn't find it. Then it said, oh, it's already been claimed. So then I'm really terrified.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I'm watching. I'm like, okay, fine. So then I just kind of step away. I start breathing. I calm down. I'm wearing a Morehouse jacket. Somebody said, hey, that's the real school. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, man. And I'm just trying to get my ticket. I get my ticket, cool. I walk in, and there's this guy in front of me, and he's
Uh-huh.
trying to push his way in. He's just trying to push his way in. And I'm very Larry David like when it comes to etiquette. And so
Yes.
anyway, long story short, he didn't get in
Mm.
initially, and I was like, because I was like, what's your rush? It's 6 o'clock. The kickoff's in 90 minutes. Like, why are you rushing? Anyway,
Uh-huh.
so I get in and I walk up, and it hit me like, oh man, I have to go to like the second floor. And I know this is some first world problems,
Uh-huh.
okay? But I'm thinking like I go to the second floor. So there's this huge escalator,
Yep.
like right when you come in, if on the east end zone entrance, this huge escalator. I didn't take that. I'm just walking
Uh-huh.
around, and then I just took the steps. There's a woman smoking on the stairwell, and
Of course.
I look at her with like just this
Disdain.
disdain, just total disdain. As I walk up the stairs, and she's trying to like hide it, like anybody can smell the smoke. Interestingly enough, on the walk in, I knew it wasn't a Falcon game because there was no weed. Like
Oh yeah.
I smelled no
Yeah.
weed.
Yeah.
I'm with thousands and thousands of Ohio State and Notre Dame fans, and I smelled zero weed. Okay, let it be a Sunday at 1.
Oh yeah. It's
All
extra
right,
loud.
it's completely just so super loud, right? So I
Yeah.
walk in, I see the usher in my section, who's normally in my section. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, I had to be in here. I said, this ain't like one of our games. He said, boy, is it not, right? Because for every, you know, 10 Notre Dame fans, one was Notre Dame or Ohio State fans, one was black.
Hmm.
I'd never been in a situation like that. Like not even at a Georgia game. I went to
Yeah.
one Georgia LSU game, and it was definitely not like that. It was in
Yeah.
Athens too, but it was definitely not like that. But anyway, so I'm going upstairs. I'm looking like, okay, I got to go to 221 LFT. I don't know where this is. 221, 221. I'm walking. I'm looking. I'm getting closer. And I'm on the phone with Antoine. I just turned to the right, and it says 221 Sweet Loft, and I was like, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. That's
I
sweet.
step, I step up. 20 seats on one side, 20 seats on the other side, full bar, open bar,
Mm.
full spread of food.
Oh yeah.
You grab the drinks out of the fridge, out of the 3 or 4 fridges.
Yeah.
Just, all types. The spread was amazing.
Yeah.
And I still have an hour before the game. Okay, because that's how excited I am, man. It was cool to be there in the atmosphere with the Notre Dame fans. I was on a Notre Dame side,
Mhm.
so it was really cool to be in their atmosphere with there. They had all these traditions. It was great. I thought of Chris Lee. I thought of Rudy. I thought of Jerry Goldsmith's amazing score. When they played the song, like you're in the stadium and they're playing, it's like da, 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 da. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
gosh, I
Yeah.
felt like Rudy's dad in that moment. These eyes have never seen such a beautiful thing, right? And look, and then Ohio State comes out, they're booing them. Like the Notre Dame fans were hyped, like they
Yeah.
were ready,
Yeah.
far more ready than the team was
Yeah.
after it was 7-7, and but it was a fun game to watch. Hats off to Ohio State,
Yeah. Indeed.
outstanding work
Yeah.
that they did throughout that entire game. Even though Notre Dame did make it close,
Yeah.
it just really felt like it got out of hand after the first half, and they never could really kind of grab it back.
Yeah.
I wish they'd had, the middle 8 minutes, as now we're learning, those middle 8 was really where they lost it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
had they fought a little, just made a little too vanilla with some of the play calls and
Yeah.
the timidity and stuff like that, it changed everything. And how I remember that, I don't know, because brother, I had pork chops and Caesar salad and mac and cheese and roasted chicken and crab dip and
Something
and
when your ancestors shedding a tear, like
yes, it
you
was
made it.
amazing. We did
Not
make it,
only his
and
ancestors but his parents, because look at him eating vegetables at the national
Hey.
championship
I was.
game.
I was eating. I started with a Caesar salad and
Yeah.
green beans. I ate green beans too. But it was just an amazing experience, and I pray that moving forward, we are able to procure said space for big time games that come to either in Atlanta or elsewhere, wherein we enjoy the game in such a fashion. Also, I had no dog in the fight, other than my
Sure.
blackness.
Sure.
So I had no dog in the fight. So it was really enjoyable just to watch the football,
Sure.
itself without, you know, crying or tearing my, beard out or anything like that. No nerves
Sure.
at all. But it was
So,
great. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Chris, where'd you watch the game? What were you doing?
I just watched it at home. I wasn't overly excited. There were none of my conference teams nor my beloved team involved, so there was football on the TV, and that was about
Sure.
it.
Saturday ball on a Monday.
Yes. Other than that, uh, for a moment there, I thought the uh, the echoes were awakened
Mm-hmm.
until I realized they had not been.
That's right.
And I hate to say it, as it's usually said about a few teams around college ball, but Notre Dame, Notre Dame. Uh,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
eh,
I happened to watch it with my frat brothers. We had our 20th chapter anniversary, Omega Lambda Lambda of Hendersonville, Tennessee. We celebrated together in unity. And
Happy anniversary.
we were kind of divided. There were
one
a few
score.
huh? Was that?
That's it. One score, 20 years.
Yeah, sure. An entire score. That's correct. But yeah, man. A couple of Ohio State fans in the midst, but I think we were mostly just kind of SEC people. You know what I mean? Not really caring too much. But the
I
game,
absolutely understand.
yeah, the ending was exciting. And yeah, football is different now. This playoff is here to stay, whether
Yeah.
we like it or not. And so, we'll see how the SEC adjusts, if they adjust. It doesn't seem advantageous right now to have the week off, as we might have thought it would be, but yeah, that doesn't appear to be the case.
Unless you're a juggernaut. I don't think there was a juggernaut for the season. I think there was
and
a
that's
juggernaut
that's a good point.
from December on, maybe.
Yeah.
Because you could still get in. So the incentive, I think, is just a little different, and so if you're in the dance, you're in the dance.
Yeah.
And they looked, I'll tell you this, Ohio State against Oregon or Tennessee did not look the same as they did against Texas, in my opinion, against Texas or Notre Dame throughout the game. So even with that, it does, the wear and tear does start to have some type of effect.
Yeah, you got to be a deep team with some attrition.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Sure.
And I just want to, I think next year they're going to have to do something about the seeding. Yeah, I get it. You want to make sure conference champions are rewarded, but I think we can all universally agree that Arizona State and Boise State were not the third and fourth best teams in the nation.
No, but I think they deserve to be there, but not the third and fourth best teams in the nation.
No, they deserve to be in the bracket.
Yeah, but they deserve to be in an invitation, but they need to reseed it. It's definitely, a seed needs to be based on merit, based on, like the strength of schedule. I think they need to continue to use those rankings for the seeding and just say, okay, you're in the tournament, but nothing else is guaranteed. And, I want to revisit this whole conference champion. Like, is that really a reward? Because, it seems the conference champion gets punished more than anything.
Well, I don't know if Oregon got punished as much as, I think it's had a rough draw. I think they might have been different, and it might have worked out with a different draw for them, or if they just a different place. I don't know if they got punished per se.
So I'm going to make a very unpopular take here. I'm not going to call it a hot take. It's just a Seeley's opinion. So hopefully the Seeley collective will not shrink after this. But
they'll probably be in mass support.
I've not really been a fan of conference championship games per se, because especially if you have a conference that does either a round robin or you end up with a rematch, you've already played this game. What do you really prove in December? Like, okay, this team adjusted, shifted, whatever in December. The NFL, that's for your rematches. The one thing that I really love about Saturday ball, if you lose, you got to feel that sting for 365 days. Just let it burn.
The stakes are higher in the regular season.
No, let it burn.
Yeah, but not necessarily though. Not if you have a conference championship game.
Well, that's what we were saying. Not anymore.
Yeah. No, well, not even 10 years ago. If you whenever the SEC championship game started, you could lose. Okay, good. If
I didn't like it then.
If Florida loses the first game of the season, they could still, and then runs the table the rest of the way, and no one else does as well. They could still end up in a championship game against a team that they lost to. In a sense, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe not in Georgia, not in their side, but I'm just saying, like, if they lose to Alabama in the first game of the season, they could see Alabama or Auburn or Mississippi State or back in the day, Kentucky or Arkansas again, or Vandy again. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Right. But I think just like divisions in any sport, any level, they're arbitrary.
We have that. We have that in the NFL. We have that.
I was just going to touch on that, and you know,
but it's happened before.
Yeah, you can argue NFL, NBA is arbitrary to call it East and West. You can divide it else ways. But I just always felt like, especially
NBA is pretty clear on what is.
NBA is probably the
most baseball. You could have called it anything else.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Or split it any number of ways, but they just chose
the Atlantic League and the Pacific League.
And then you get into the divisions. I leave that to them. But like the SEC, this whole East and West, and then for a few years you had the best teams coming from one division over another. I'll be polite today, since I'm a guest. But you look at that, and I just don't think I personally just don't like rematches in the first weekend in December.
Fair.
I don't.
Yeah, but
like Texas, Oklahoma, when they were in the Roman numeral together, and they were always the top two. The Red River Shootout, because Mom and they called it that. I'm gonna call it that. Red River Shootout in October at the Texas State Fair at the Cotton Bowl. That is the game. I don't want to see it again in the Alamo Dome or now Jerry World.
Yeah, I hear
You
you.
settled it.
But it takes away from the luster of the original matchup.
It does. It does. It does. You're right.
That was one of the things that was so unique about college football was that you had the one matchup in the season, and that was that. And if you lost that.
No, I'm sorry. I apologize. Go ahead. If you lost
No,
that.
I'm just saying if you lost that, the stakes were higher. And it seems like it's being diluted just a little bit. I mean, but I'm also, and I've had to come to this reality in a topic that we don't want to talk about, but it is what it is. You got to learn to live with the situation where it is and make the most of it.
That Bama LSU year, I remember thinking that must have been the 2011 season. It was Bama LSU. It was the 11 season.
2010,
no,
11.
It was 11. I think it was.
Yeah,
11
that's right. Because Texas went in.
But I was in Jackson. I was in Jackson Square. And I was I'll get a chocolate shop right off Jackson Square, and I remember going into I remember going into a store and seeing something LSU related. And I remember listening to the radio or listening to something and them saying, "Oh, there's going to be a rematch." I have a picture probably somewhere in my early days of Instagram. I think I got on Instagram in like November of 11, and I remember taking this picture. And long story short, I said, "There's no way that LSU and Alabama are going to play for the national championship. Like this doesn't. I cannot fathom this happening." And then 7 years later, and there's probably other times too, but then 7 years later, Georgia plays Alabama, in 2018. I'm like, that I cannot, this does not make sense to me. It's supposed to be some team from the Big Ten playing some team from the SEC, or some team from the Pac-10 playing some team from the Big 12. I mean, like whatever it is, it's supposed to be these heavyweights are supposed to play each other after playing the bowl games. But then, of course, I still remember a time when you all were, well, Chris was younger, but and Calvin remembers when it was just that, we've decided this is the national championship game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Before you had multiple games with
the
states.
Alliance.
Like
when Georgia Tech played I think they played who did they play that year?
I don't know.
Nebraska.
Colorado?
No, they played Nebraska.
They didn't play each other.
Colorado played
that's right. They split it.
And they split it, yeah.
Or the last Penn State one, right? In 86 for Joe Pa. It was just like right, but they weren't playing the number 2 team. It was a rare thing. And so obviously fans wanted to see it. Like that's not decided on the field. That's decided by writers.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You annihilated them.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't mean you were going to beat them. These 17 to 22-year-old, primarily 22-year-olds.
Right.
It was interesting. So I hear everything you're saying. But this is where we are.
Yeah,
it is. And as a shameless, quick self plug there, I remember October of 2011. I said, I don't care what happens in this game, they're going to play again in January.
You said it, and I was just like, huh? That doesn't make sense.
You thought I was outside of my mind.
No, I couldn't conceive of a reality wherein that could happen. I didn't think that they would allow it to happen. And it was at the Sugar Dome. I mean, the Superdome. It was like the Sugar. It wasn't the Sugar Bowl. It was the game after the Sugar Bowl, right?
Right.
And then that took explaining too. Okay.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! I remember Texas wins the Rose Bowl. And then Texas wins a Rose Bowl in like 2005. Then they have to come back after winning some other game, and then they have to go to the Rose Bowl to play the championship. Having to explain that was just that's just it was fairly difficult at first. But I'm saying all that to say it's kind of like I still think the best team in the country won the national championship.
Yeah. It all
okay.
Yeah.
No, I believe the best team in the country won the national championship. And now, if my team had just run a student body left or right on first and goal, second and goal, third and goal, fourth and goal, I don't know how it turns out. I don't know how it turns out. Yeah. I don't know, but we didn't, and we didn't do the little things, and so we weren't in that. So we weren't in that game, and did they look like world beaters for most of the game? Yeah. but they also look pretty vulnerable too, which is what I kept saying over and over again.
Yeah.
But they did enough because it doesn't have to be. That was the thing we kept saying, and they were like, it doesn't have to be pretty. I just need a 1 point win. This ain't no style points for for the CFP, baby. You just need to win in advance. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no style points. Nobody cares. There's no whatever. It is what it is. So,
and I would just like to add, just to come back to last week, since it was probably the only thing that I had remotely correct last week. My little 10-team spoilers list, which now expanded to 12 with the addition of Michigan and Oregon to it. It was much better than expanding to only 11 of Northern Illinois. So I did take a little satisfaction.
That would have made it more poetic, though. Northern Illinois makes it very poetic.
Yeah.
But things tend to happen the way they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Just like I wear in this jersey in honor of the Morehouse College basketball team who went to the Burr Gymnasium on Monday. The best thing that happened in DC on Monday was when the Morehouse Maroon Tigers came into their trap and took over their trap.
Yes, sir.
At the rinkety, but actually nicely renovated. Actually, it's nicely renovated. I always wondered, like, that gym always disappointed me as a student. Actually, as a child, and then as a student, it didn't disappoint me. But now they kind of kitted it out. It's kind of cool. It looks like an ice rink. It's always looked like an ice rink. But they kind of kitted it out, put a little paint on the walls. They sell individual seats because they're grown-ups up there at Howard. And I really like how they do that. But shout out to Coach Doug Whitler and the mighty Maroon Tiger basketball team who, as I said, won 79-76 over the lowly Howard University Bison at their own gym. Ooh, D1 team losing to a D2? How does that taste? How does that taste? What I really hate is these people, because it was done in the MEAC. It was like a MEAC crew, and so everything was anti-Morehouse. They also had no sense of history. Said, "Oh, they played 2 times before." Ninja, what? We played 2 times before.
Way more.
We played almost 100 years.
Yeah.
In fact, I was going to look it up just for this statement, but I forgot to look it up. But we've played almost 100 years. Okay, we've played Howard basketball for nearly 100 years. So definitely in football for 100 years. So having said that, I was a little taken aback with that, but very, very proud of the Morehouse College Maroon Tiger basketball team.
Indeed, man. We did the thing, as I've said on Facebook. Yes. Don't let the national championship distract you from the fact that Morehouse defeated Howard on national television. What a glorious moment!
What a day of rejoicing.
We did it for Mordecai.
Hey,
and the Mordecai Bowl.
Yeah, Howard wouldn't be Howard without Morehouse. Don't ever forget it.
Ever. Or James Nabrit.
Or hey, look, the list goes on and on. I think King Cheek, a lot of people. But at any rate,
if I can give a quick shout out,
sure,
Charles Barkley style. Joe mentioned being in the JME suite, Jawar Edwards suite at the game. I just want to quickly give a shout out to JME. For those of you who are looking for good eats while you're on the travel, JME has several restaurants that they operate and even own in various airports throughout the nation, including Maynard Jackson Airport in Atlanta. My favorite airport. Also in JFK, if you're in Denver, Newark, Los Angeles, and even Kauai. Please make sure you eat at a JME-owned eatery.
Love it.
Especially if you're in Kauai. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Especially if you fly into Kauai. Like, God bless those who fly into Kauai. I didn't even know that was a thing until you just said that. Okay, good to know. And thank you for your research.
Indeed.
And they are also the title sponsor for the 37th annual Can of the Dark Gala this year, the JME Group.
Nice. Yes. Love it. This is your busy season, as it were. One of them.
It is. That it is.
So, speaking of busy season, this is the busy season for coaching. Right now, the coaching carousel, I'm going to steal a little bit from my buddy McGee, my frat brother and my friend from the Southern Players League, McGee, and say the ESPN Negro has a breaking news update for you guys. The latest coaching carousel change, Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, has been hired to coach the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that just broke. Liam Cohen.
Oh, of course,
Yeah,
Liam Cohen, of course, Liam
yeah.
Cohen. I have no clue.
So
This is like me watching the NBA right now. I don't know who these people are.
Who he
right.
coach for?
I was watching the Trailblazers match earlier today, man, and I was like, is that Chauncey Billups on something? Like
It is.
these dudes are
But I don't know who these people are that play in the NBA. I don't know what is going on um, aside from the superstars. So, uh, wow, Liam Cohen,
yes,
Cohen,
Cohen,
Cohen.
Coen.
Oh, Cohen, like the
Mm-hmm.
Cohen brothers.
Uh-huh.
He spelled the
Very
same
much so.
way. Oh,
Very
cool.
much so.
Liam.
Yeah. So let's talk about these coaching changes.
Jeez.
Chris, your team
Mm,
made a selection.
that
How
they
you feel?
did.
You know, Coach Vrabel, I'm not overly excited about.
Hmm.
Oh,
I mean, I thought he did well with the Titans. I didn't think that was what New England needed. It feels like now we're just in the New England Alumni Association. It's very reminiscent of
two in a
what
row. Right?
Bama did between Bear Bryant and Mr. Saban. Um, where you had to play under, coach under, or shake hands with the Bear at some point, and that was where you would be the head coach. And so I'm excited about the OC hire. Josh McDaniels is back. He can work with Drake
For the
May,
third
and
time.
wild card.
Yeah.
I hope. But that is my excitement with the OC, and see if we can get the defense to be consistent throughout the year with our DC. But the head coach, I no, I don't fully know what happened in the locker room in New England this season. I didn't think they needed that kind of person to shift the paradigm of, hey, everybody do their job. We can get to this point. New England is a franchise who's recently been there. Their mantra for years was always do your job.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't think he needed the big hit set in New England.
Okay. All right. Well, that wasn't the only hire in the past. I guess that actually happened prior to our previous recording. But what else is going? So Aaron Glenn, Joe, how you feel about Aaron Glenn going to the Jets?
We had some debate over as to whether or not this was a good job. I don't know what the Jets want to do. I think they got a quarterback situation that's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah.
They have some young talent on that team that could be generational talent, and on the defensive side, and at least with Garrett Wilson, and with Sauce and Garrett. But I I don't know what he's got with the Jets. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish, look, if you're going to be hired to head coach, if you get a new head coaching job, the team is usually bad, right?
Yeah.
Unless somebody retired on top like Cower or Steve Walsh, you know.
Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh.
Oh yeah, I meant Bill. Yeah, good Lord, I apologize, Bill Walsh.
Troy Aikman kind of did the same thing with Steve Walsh too. So
He did Bill Walsh, but or gosh, what was the coach after Walsh? George Seifert.
yeah.
And same general concept. And so I look at it like that, but most times it's not like that, right? Most times you're coming off of a very low win thing. So there's talent, but not enough. There's horrible morale. I hate that for Aaron Glenn, particularly coming from the Jets. I thought maybe Dallas would have been a little better fit for him personally, given what Dallas has defensively down there. I thought maybe New Orleans would have been a little better fit for him,
Sure.
from a talent perspective. The Jets did have a pretty good defense though this year, or at least on paper they did. But who knows what that looks like, for Aaron Glenn. I'm really curious about who he's going to hire as his
Yeah.
OC and DC. I think that'll be very, very important moving forward. And they don't know what they're going to do with Rodgers, man. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing. And knowing how selfish he is, there's no telling when that will present itself. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like
Yeah.
literally, he could wait forever until the draft, like until after the draft to decide if he's coming back or not. So they've got to make some huge wholesale decisions,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of work for him. It's a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of work.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
I'm happy for the brother, but dang, going, it's a lot of work.
well, and it's his first job as a head coach. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's always, I mean, we've gotten to the point, thank gosh, that black coaches are getting a second go around for the most
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I don't want to be too prognostic in this case, but the Jets are a moribund franchise for sure, who are going to be stuck for a while where they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
A quite different to you. Chris, did you want to weigh in there? Or?
Yeah, and I know no AFC East bias here, but I wanted better for the brother. It's not a fear, but I'm like, I want him to be in a job and a position with a franchise that wants to succeed, that is trying to succeed and is not dysfunctional. We're always asked to come clean up something.
Yeah.
And
that is the feeling, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
it's
but
like,
it's like
we
you
know,
should be happy for the job. No, give me the right
No,
job.
not quite.
Right.
We want
like
somebody's
we're asking him to come in and clean up a Superfund site right now.
Yeah.
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 That is what you wrote. I want better for the brother, and
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. It's
just for equity's sake, let's shift gears a little bit to the Bears, the Chicago Bears. They took the Jets took the defense coordinator from Lions. The Bears took the offense coordinator from the Lions. Ben Johnson sought after. He was sought after last year.
Yeah.
Was very close to signing with the Jaguars, but they were doggedly holding on to Trent Baalke, who they just let go of. At any rate, he's with the Bears now. There's a lot of talk about the impact that he'll have on the career of Caleb Williams. The Bears are one of those franchises as well. That ownership group, they just can't seem to get right. But this looks like a good hire. What do you think, Chris?
Well, I'm just going to be that guy, especially 3 days removed from Monday. Nothing good is going to come to the Bears until they do right by Lovie Smith.
And
that's not even factored in Super Bowl 20. This is a Lovie Smith thing.
Yeah. Joe, what about you, man? How you feel about that job?
I don't know. He had some talent. Ben Johnson had some talent in Detroit, and he was able to get the most out of those guys. I don't know. I don't know what Caleb Williams is. I really don't. And I hope that he, with the right tutelage and support and protection, literally, he turns into a decent to middling to good NFL quarterback. There's brothers run that team.
Yeah.
So I don't want to speak in any way that's disrespectful to the brothers that run that team.
That's fair.
My blackness will not allow me to be overly negative about the Bears. But by the same token, the NFC North is tough.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what's happening with Minnesota, but I think they have a very good coach there. And so I think they still have the nucleus of some good stuff there. But you still have the Lions, who are going to have some growing pains. And you have the Packers, who somehow are always in the mix.
Yeah.
And so that makes it really tough in the North. And somebody's got to get left out.
Yeah.
And so if you look at it right now, it's usually going to be the Bears.
Yeah.
Because they just don't, their quarterback is the fourth best quarterback. And so this is just kind of where they are. But I wish them all the best there. I think it was a good hire. I don't see it being a bad thing necessarily. I remember I heard something about him going to Dallas possibly, or going to Jacksonville to work with Lawrence. I think they're going to move on from Lawrence, but Jacksonville to work with Lawrence or whatever. So I think it was a good thing. Stays in the division, and this is what happens when you have success. Normally, this happens after you've won a Super Bowl or two, but this is what happens when you have this kind of success. You're the hot coordinator,
Yeah.
They go, and I think I think Chris, you said it, or Calvin, you said it. They stayed like a year longer than they probably could,
Yeah.
theoretically. Conventional wisdom says they were going to leave earlier, but
Yeah.
this was supposed to be the year they put it all together and make that run, and they just, their own hubris, in many respects. We'll talk about that later, but
Yeah.
you know, prevented it. So they left.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
I don't think they're quitters or anything like that. I think this is what they didn't become coaches to be coordinators. They became
Absolutely.
coaches to be head
Absolutely.
coaches.
They have to at least try and
Yeah.
see. You know what I mean? I totally agree. I totally agree. You mentioned the Cowboys. Cowboys are one of the 3 jobs left now. So the Cowboys, the Raiders, and the Ops from Louisiana. So which of those 3 jobs, Joe, if you were a prospective head coach, which of those 3 jobs would be the most appealing to you?
I love New Orleans. I love the food. I love the culture.
Mm-hmm.
I think your dollar goes a long way.
Sure.
Um, nice big old house, you know,
Yeah. On the
not
East
far.
Bank.
Yeah, nice big old house. I'd live in town. I'd live in town.
Okay, cool.
Nice big old
Garden
wooden
District.
garden district place. Everybody knows it's me,
Yeah. Okay.
hey, coach, good luck, coach. One of those,
Mm.
I'm off to the game. Yeah, I'm off to the stadium. No, I personally, I think the expectations are far too high in the other 2 places. And
Sure.
I think that the expectations are definitely out of whack in the other 2 places.
Delulu,
Yes.
as the youngins say.
But I think the barrier for success is far lower in Las Vegas than it is in Dallas. And so I just as an attractive job of the 3,
Hmm.
I'd say New Orleans. Now, if you look at that roster, I don't know. I don't know how much, because whoever their quote unquote stars are, their one Hall of Famer is
Yeah.
aging Cam Jordan, and they're a big rebuild, in my
Yeah.
opinion. In my opinion,
Yeah. And they're in cap hell. Like they
yeah,
did some
yeah,
shady cap work and for to quote unquote win now.
yeah.
And they didn't win now.
No,
And now they're definitely gonna pay the piper.
yeah.
Chris, how would you
Sorry,
rank those?
sorry,
Well,
Saints.
Sorry, yeah, sorry. Ops.
I'm going to go non-roster as my rationale. I think Dallas, if
Okay.
your skin is thick, is a better job.
Okay.
Jerry doesn't really have a high turnover per se.
Uh-huh.
New Orleans, if you get a bad break on injuries, you're gone.
Yeah,
The Raiders, you could be gone by mid-season.
That's true.
sure.
Mark Davis has
And
23 of those chromosomes,
Right. And so,
if not more.
I think if you want to be sure that you'll have a job at least for 3 or 4, really 5 years, Jerry's loyal. If he likes you, he hires you. It's not like he immediately threw Mike McCarthy under the bus. And he didn't, relieve him mid-season, even though it was really a negotiation breakdown. It's where they separated. And so I would say if you just want the consistent check, and for years it's Dallas. After that, I would say New Orleans. They, short of an extremely bad break like what Dennis Allen got. I think that was Dennis Allen who was fired this year.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Who, if I recall, was also a Raiders coach at one point.
At one point he was.
Yeah.
But the Saints, it's almost a little bit like college. Just beat Atlanta, and
Yeah.
you'll be good to go for a little bit. The Raiders, they're almost like the Jets of the West.
Yeah, including the lack of glory over the past few years. I tend to echo a lot of y'all sentiments. If I take my emotion out of it, my virulent hate for the Ops of New Orleans, I would think that job out of those 3 would probably be the best. Joe, to your point, like Cam Jordan, Alvin Kamara, you can do something
Yeah.
right with them. They showed a lot of grit after the firing of Dennis
They
Allen.
did.
I
They
think
did.
it
They were
was
playing for that guy. They were playing
yeah,
for the
for the
interim.
Rizzy. Yeah, I think they were a little unhappy with Dennis Allen. He wasn't the most popular guy in the building. So there's that too. They tend to, and to your point about the city itself, I mean, New Orleans is a beautiful place. It's fantastic. I could see that job. put the Cowboys next, and to the point that Chris made about the stability there. I mean, say what you will about the meddling of Jerry. He usually is pretty, like patient. He let Jason Garrett stay there for quite a while longer than most coaches would have been allowed to stay. I think he truly does give you an opportunity to try to succeed there in Dallas. Now, again, he meddles. He's a probably the most meddlesome owner in the league. And I think you have to go in knowing that and have the to your point, the skin to deal with, like you said. Take somebody like a Dion, maybe, I don't know, somebody that can kind of let it bounce off and say, hey, I'm still gonna do things my way. But we'll see. And then Vegas, man. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Like, I don't know how you go from just win baby to what they have now. But it seems almost as if, like, and this is what I feared when they moved to Vegas, that football's kind of secondary now. It's almost like, they are, it doesn't seem like they are putting forth the effort that a lot of the other teams are to really establishing a winning culture there. I mean, you got all the symbolic things like that flame that they set off and everything like that. But symbolism in a game where men hit each other, blow helmets off each other, you know what I mean? Like, nah, man, the symbolism only goes so far. You have to really surround the team with strong minds. Now, I hear that Brady is the one that's pulling the strings there. Like, I really hear that they've given him a lot of power in terms of hiring, in terms of like planning, things of that nature. It's interesting to see what'll happen there. If it's anything like his announcing, which we've already kind of litigated, I don't know, but
they say he's made a few calls to Chapel Hill.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it's worth doing that because he's got that clause where he can get out of there for like $1 or something. So, might as well, or as they say, as my students say, minus well.
The thing I wonder about with the Raiders, I mean, and with nearly every NFL city, especially your New Orleans, Miami, New York, LA. Well, really, most of them, minus Green Bay and minus Green Bay. Yeah, any city has its fair share of distractions, but I feel like Vegas is just extra distracting. And
Vegas is like Dre's and like I mean, you've been to Vegas, like you're not sleeping.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
They're not even a number 3 show in Vegas.
I can't. Yeah, I don't think you can properly. I just think it hasn't happened. Now it's interesting because the Aces play there and they do very well.
Yeah.
And the hockey team, they won the Stanley Cup.
They have
the Golden Knights. The Knights. They won a Stanley Cup. I'm curious, but football is different. You're talking about black women with the Aces. You're talking about not really any black men on the Golden Knights, and you're talking about these 55 guys with money.
1 weekend in town.
Yeah, with money, and they get paid on Tuesdays. So I'm sure Tuesdays in Vegas are special when the Raiders, the day they get off is the day they get paid on Tuesdays. I'm sure it is a fun time.
Oh, yeah.
Or they are ATMs.
Shout out to Sapphire.
There you go.
There you go.
Yes. So I have no idea what that is, but I agree with you. So I to your point, I don't. It didn't happen out there for years for a reason. But the crazy thing is, he finally got his stadium. This is the stadium that Al wanted all this time. Yeah. It's been mythologized in Ballers. It's been talked. They got moved. They got 30 for 30s about it, right? He was supposed to have it in L.A. Supposed to have it in Oakland. Supposed to have it in all these different places, and in Irwindale, all these different places. It just never came to be. And now he finally has a stadium, and the team's not worth a darn. Yeah. And they better do something because they have a generational talent in Brock Bowers, generational talent in Bowers. They have a pretty good defensive player in Max Crosby as well, pretty good defensive player as well. No, actually, he wreaks havoc. But those are the 2 assets because they got rid of Jacobs, who had a great year when he left. But those are their main 2 assets in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it's going to be wasted. And as a person who who Bowers is my keeper, one of my keepers. I'm just going to announce that. I have no problem announcing that. He's one of my keepers,
champ.
Who's averaging 20 something. Thank you, 20 something points. I need to know who's throwing him the ball. You know what I mean? Even though he was making it work with the carousel of quarterbacks that they had throwing in the ball. They have, but to you all said they have a culture issue all the way down, top to bottom. I hate it because the sister's in charge, but they have a culture issue there that it's going to take a lot of work, and they're going to have to put whoever this hire is, got to give that person time. Time. And hopefully they'll be grown up enough or whatever to deal with everything. Because I don't know why they really got Pierce out of there, but it was very celebrated when he came in. That he looked just exasperated on the sideline, you know.
Yeah.
And here we are.
With a scuttlebutt.
And it makes me wonder, and perhaps it's a question for us to consider for the next show. Who is the best family-owned team? And right now, it's easy to say Kansas City with the Hunts. Remember, they had that 50-year drought. So, what did it take?
But you said right now,
Clark.
You said right now,
huh?
You said
right
now.
I did say right now. But what did it take for Clark to just finally say, "Look here, Mama, move out the way. Everybody, move out the way. Let's do this."
I'll push back a little bit. I mean, I don't know how much you want to say for next week. I'll say this: it was a drought as far as championships are concerned.
But they're running
first run organization. The playoffs every decade. They were definitely in the, say what you will about Marty
Trent
Ball.
Green, Vermeil time too. What was it? The running backs. Gosh, they were
Larry Johnson.
Priest Holmes. Like they just the Herm Edwards time was like whatever. But they've been in the conversation.
Yeah. Yes. But let's talk about it next week. I think
that's a great question, though.
That's a great question.
That's a great question.
And we'll have some time to look into it.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll put a pin in that. I can tell you the Smith family from the Falcons is that my dead bottom, but that's neither here nor there. All right. So these games this weekend, man. Joe, you're our historian. How do we do?
I wasn't ready for that. How did we do? Let's see. Well, Calvin, it's interesting because I talked to Chris at some point over the weekend, and he was a little, upset with himself over, not upset with himself, but just actually, if you add in, well, no, you can't add that in either. I was trying
can't even carry a one on that one.
Yeah, I was trying to.
there was no one.
So, okay, Calvin, we all went into this game last weekend 4-2. We're not counting the college games, right?
No,
those didn't go in our things at all. Great.
No.
So, Calvin, you picked winners in 3 of the 4 games.
Oh, did I?
No, excuse me, in 2 of the 4 games.
2 of the 4. Okay,
I apologize. You picked winners in 2 of the 4 games.
Yeah.
So you went 2-2. So you went from 4-2 to 6-4.
Okay, I'll take it.
Chris, you picked winners in 1 game. The Philadelphia Eagles. So you went 1-3. So you went 5-5. You're 5-5. And I did the same.
Apologies to the collective.
I'm 6-4 as well. So there's really only a game.
Yeah, we're still
wasn't as bad as I thought.
Chris, you're at 500. You're at 500.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's kind of like the older you get, the GPA, the more hours you take, the less chance of pushing that GPA up. That's just kind of where we are. Sorry, it's my life for years. So less chances of increasing that GPA you have. So but no, we're Calvin, you and I are 6-4. Chris, you're 5-5. Literally a game off of each other.
Very good. Yeah. I like it. So that first game of the weekend,
that's incorrect.
What happened?
No, that's correct. I apologize. No, that's correct. I'm sorry.
No, the last game of last weekend, Kansas City and
yeah.
Pretty good game. There's a lot of discussion and talk about the referees. I'm over the whole referees and conspiracy theory and all this kind of crap. I mean, dude, like
I'm not wearing the
refs make
tinfoil
bad
hat, but if
calls.
two Texans hit each other and it's a penalty on Mahomes, I'm not saying they're right, but I
Refs make
understand why
bad
they're
calls
yanking.
all the time. Refs make bad calls. They make game-changing bad calls. Ask Dallas Cowboy fans about Dez Bryant. Ask Tampa Bay fans about Bert Emanuel. I mean, like it happens. You know what I mean? Like this has been happening, to quote The Sopranos, time immemorial. So, like, I get it, and you know what I mean, like, but to say that there's a vast conspiracy for for the Chiefs to win, I think is malarkey. I don't think that's the case at all. I think that yes, the champions tend to get an advantage from like a biased standpoint, and I think as a champion, you earn that. I think Chris, you have been a champion in Quiz Bowl, as have I, right?
Yes.
You come into a match with a reputation, as a champion, as a winner. There's going to be leeway given to you. It's just human nature. But to say that there's a vast conspiracy for the Chiefs, what Kansas City is like one of the smaller markets in the country, like. And I know that Patrick Mahomes is a household name, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, yada yada, whatever the case is. But like, if we're talking bottom line moolah money, like if there was a conspiracy theory, the Jets would have had a Super Bowl in the last 20 years. If there was a conspiracy theory, Kobe and LeBron would have played in the finals. Like, people have these delusions of grandeur about different things, and these folly do, and have people buy into their theories about who's winning and why. And they make the ping pong balls cold so that the Knicks could get Patrick Ewing, and Patrick Ewing never amounted to crap, never won nothing. Like, chill out, folks, and just enjoy the games. I don't know, man. Anyway,
I want to push back just a slight touch.
Okay.
I know we always hear about the various size market teams and whatnot, but it makes me wonder, is there really a such thing in the NFL? Because pony up for the Chiefs today and see how much they're asking for. if
they're a valuable franchise, I agree.
Well, but small is relative, because the larger is larger than
the metropolitan area. I get it.
Yeah.
But in terms of what game would NBC show on a Sunday night, as long as they have a winning record, half the nation is going to watch. Then they're going to be like,
it's also probably because of the lack of great programming on Sunday night too. I don't even know what's on network TV. What else is on network TV?
NBC is not showing that without my daughter anymore.
The fact that the NFL felt that they could flex on Christmas Day with Kansas City and Pittsburgh, and those are the two largest cities in the NFL universe. It's not like they took and yeah, you had a schedule and so forth, but they flexed on Christmas Day and won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, I mean, yeah, you have
and there wasn't that's just me.
You have a strong point there, but I guess my bigger thing is like,
well, that didn't.
In terms of like the NFL, more than any other league, tends to know kind of what their audience wants in terms of like, programming and such. You know what I mean? Like when they program a Sunday night schedule, for instance, they generally lean towards those franchises that are going to draw eyes, even if they're not necessarily winning, right? And if you have an up and coming franchise, they will get some shine, but you're always going to see Dallas. You're always going to see Pittsburgh. You're always going to see Oakland, you know what I mean? Or Las Vegas, or whoever, you know what I mean? So my point, I guess I'm making is that like, there's no like stakes. As a matter of fact, I would say that people are more excited to see Kansas City lose, and that's why they're tuning in than
fair enough.
Because
I mean? To both of you all's point, if Cincinnati and Jacksonville were to play on a Sunday night, even though I still think half the nation will watch, but it would be the least half nation watch the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, though, so Joe, besides the controversies with the refs and everything like that, what you think of the game? What you think about Houston's prospects going forward?
I don't know what Houston team exists. They're so up and down, in my opinion. So I don't know if they're the team that shocked the world and won the wild card game,
Mhm.
or if they're the team that was in the game. They were in this Kansas City game,
Yeah.
but they still never inexplicably let Kelsey have 11 catches.
Yeah.
Um, maybe arguably the greatest tight end of all time, arguably. And you let the greatest tight end of all time, the one of two surefire Hall of Famers playing in the game, in the stadium, you let him not just catch the ball, but in the middle of the field. And so D'Amico's whole is built on defense. He's there because of defense. I I'm I'm at a loss with that. I don't know. I don't know what their identity is. I don't know what the Texans' identity is, other than a feel good story. But CJ Stroud played very well. They out gained them. They had no turnovers. I think we talked about the fact that he had to play a game that was mistake free, and I think for the most part he did. Maybe some of the
He did.
throws were a little off, but he didn't give the ball to them.
No.
And even with all that, they lost the game. They're not smarter. They're not smarter.
Yeah.
They're not better coached. They
Yeah.
don't have better. They don't have better players. I think that they're going to need to get some protection for Stroud.
Yeah.
And until they do that, they're just going to be in the same place. They'll die off in the divisional round every
Yeah.
time, no matter
Yeah.
how hard they fight, and no matter they had some rough special team stuff that happened to them
Yeah.
against with a guy who'd been very reliable all year. But these are the times when those things happen.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So and these things never happen to Kansas City. These things used to never have. Kofor never missed a kick. Ray
Right.
Worshing never missed a kick.
Yeah. Ray Worshing.
You know what I mean? You know
Yeah.
what, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting if we look at this or Vinatieri, he didn't miss kicks. Vanderjagt didn't miss kicks. If you
Yeah.
look at it like that,
That
it's
one
like,
time.
okay, once,
That idiot
but
kicker.
but I'm just saying for the light for the
Yeah. No, your
for the
point
most
still
part,
is down.
these guys they didn't do those, they didn't make those mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting how I don't know what the Texans' identity will be moving forward. I think they need to do a really serious rebuild, though, defensively, and I think that and definitely on that offensive line. I don't know. You don't just grow 300-pound guys with size and speed and
Sure.
brilliance, but they need to find a few and spend some money. I don't know if they're cash strapped. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. But it seemed like CJ Stroud took a step back this season,
Yeah. I agree.
even though his last two outings were good.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing we have to consider, Joe, and I think that they were missing some key pieces throughout the season. So Nico Collins is gone for quite a while. He came back and played actually a pretty good game.
He did.
And
He did.
and Tank Dell was out. So there's that too.
Don't we know it? Yes.
Yeah. But they had enough weapons for sure. And to your point, regardless of who the weapons were, CJ Stroud definitely was not the CJ Stroud of last year. We can all agree there. And it wouldn't matter who was there. So I give you that. I was impressed with a couple of different things. I think that the back seven of Texans are okay. I think their linebacking core, particularly Will Anderson.
I meant to say no disrespect to Will Anderson. That's why I forgot. Will Anderson is a stud.
He's a stud. I have a lot of regrets about the Falcons not trading up for him, man. I wish we would have gotten him. But at any rate, Will Anderson looked incredible. And Derek Stingley, I mean, like,
he balled out.
Played very well in the playoffs.
Those two,
you build around those two, you got something going on. Hey, I don't know what just happened there on your screen, man. Anyway, I love it. And see, I don't have those bells and whistles because I don't know, man. But at any rate,
it's okay.
So, but yeah, man, I think Houston can build around those two defensively. But to your larger point, the defense definitely was the area that let them down throughout the season. I think their front four really, I mean, like, they're and for D'Amico Ryans to be the guru that he is, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the difference for them for a while. Offensive line, defensive line, the trenches, it's not about, as to borrow from Bill Belichick, it's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmys and Joes. So, you put some monsters in those trenches, you might have some different outcomes. And maybe CJ can feel a little bit more comfortable there in the pocket. Although, you know, again, championship quarterbacks like Jaden Daniels doesn't necessarily have hogs in front of him, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Does not.
You know,
Well, you know, I'm not sure if it's that easy to pinpoint Houston's problems, because some weeks they can look like a world beater. But if I recall, what was that week 16-17, Baltimore beat them, what, 31-2?
Yeah,
So that's
what
not
I'm
just
saying.
a
Which we
defensive
they look like
problem.
world beaters this year against the Texans. I mean, against the Titans, maybe. But
Fair enough.
I mean, you know, then I'm a little. Chris, I'm on your side in that I think that I'm a little bit more bullish about the Texans. I think they'll, and the greatest part about the Texans is that they play in the world's worst. They try to give the NFC South the title as the worst division. No, AFC South by far is the worst division in football.
The only real rivalry in the AFC South is Tennessee and Houston.
Yeah, and that's over some petty ownership issues.
Yeah, over the 97 move. But the NFC South has some pure pettiness and hatred.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Saturday night, you know, I'm chilling with my LBs at Drake's. And I don't know if Drake's is a national thing or if it's just a Tennessee thing.
There's one in Huntsville.
There's one in Huntsville. Okay, well, Joe, are you up on Drake's?
Nope.
So Drake's is a place that's like, you know, if Chili's and Benihana had a baby, because they have sushi.
Yeah.
But then they also have like burgers and barbecue and such too. It's a really weird place. But at any rate, we're in Drake's enjoying the games, the first game anyway, and then that Lions and Washington game starts. Man, woo! I could visually look around the restaurant and see who had money on the games, and just the disgust and the anger and the drinks. You know, people are ordering shots when they're winning, and they're ordering like heavy, like Long Islands and such when they're losing, man. And boy, a lot of Long Islands. Hey, that was the upset of, you know, quite the upset of a long time. I haven't seen an upset like that in quite a while. Although, Joe, wasn't an upset to you. So, what did you think about that match?
I'm torn about Detroit. Obviously, you know, feel good stories become not feel good after a while, right?
Yeah.
They just do. But I was tired. I've voiced this. I was tired of he's a great coach. Well, he hadn't done anything. Hadn't done anything. Hadn't won it all. Well, define great to me. Now, if it means that somebody wants to go play for him because he's growls and stuff on the sideline and he's, you know, all that kind of stuff, and he's got commercials for Chili's or Applebee's, whatever the heck it is, and all that. Cool. Okay. And I don't know when the bar changed, and I say that I don't know when it changed. Great meant you win, and it means you win a championship, and I understand that. It means we're going to have so many great coaches. Fine. And even if you win it all, it doesn't mean you're a great coach. Doesn't mean you're a great coach. Okay. So I was about tired of the Lions.
Okay.
And while I did see the Commanders coming in there and winning, I didn't think it would be in such fashion. But one of the things I will say about the Lions is they had a lot of heart and a lot of pride. Double meaning pride, right? So they had a lot of heart and a lot of pride. And even when like Washington should have run away with it, the Lions kept fighting. They kept, because they were playing for their coach. They were playing for each other. It was a reminder again why people love the Lions. Even people who aren't from Detroit, why they love the Lions, or why they don't feel so bad if the Lions win.
Yeah.
I was tired of hearing all season that this is the team that's going to do it all, because you got to do it. Nobody gives it to you in the NFL, and it's earned. And the way Washington played to beat Tampa, because Tampa was red hot going into the playoffs. The way Washington played, beating Tampa, and it was on a fluke. It was literally on a fluke. If that kick goes a centimeter in a different direction, they're not even in this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then maybe, just maybe, Detroit is playing this
Yeah,
week.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Although they would have had their hands full with Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans. I really do think that. But and Bucky. But I'm saying all that to say I was very proud. I was very, very proud of Jaden
uh-huh,
Daniels.
uh-huh.
Very proud of the Washington Commanders.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
surprise whatsoever with McLaurin, and a little surprised that Robinson was he played much better than I thought he was going to, but then their defense handled business as well.
yeah,
Um, I I just believed in them after the Tampa game, and I believed in them after they beat my beloved Falcons. And I said, "Well, shoot, okay." At the time, I was like, "What is this kid about? He just runs and he's slippery and all this." No, he makes great decisions. And now the things I'm learning about the way he's been training,
mm-hmm. Yeah, that VR. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
I look here.
yeah.
He's like Drago, like Ivan Drago. Um,
With the
but
PSI on the punches and
yeah,
everything.
yeah, but like legally, Ivan Drago
There's not
here.
that surreptitious shot
Yeah,
of him getting shot.
right. The thing just coming down, but they've really stepped it up,
Hmm.
and the Washington story, the
Yeah,
Commander story, is just amazing. And
yeah,
so, across the board, man, I just thought they were better at that point. I thought the Lions had taken so much. They had injuries, but everybody has injuries. But they
yeah,
had injuries, and I thought that they were meeting a buzzsaw and I say that probably once a week, but they were
mhm.
meeting a buzzsaw in Washington, and they got cut up.
Sure, sure. Lee, what were your thoughts on the game?
Ooh, I was very, very surprised, to say the least. I know I said a few things about the Commander, so to the collective and others who were in the DMV, I
Yeah,
Mm.
apologize.
yeah, yeah,
La-
But
Lamont McLemore.
I was not expecting to see that from Washington. I was expecting the Detroit defense to step up. I saw what they did with Minnesota. I said, okay, they'll kind of replicate what they did there
yeah,
and get ready for a game this week. But that was just not the case to be.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wow. Oh, but yeah, I also have to add, because this was the fact that I had prepared for either this week or next week. But since I won't get to use it, in part I was rooting for Detroit and Dan Campbell, because he was on that perfect, perfect Detroit team.
hmm
Went and, thank you, Joe. Played for the Saints, who won the Roman numeral game the following season.
It's like, what
Joe
a
verified
career.
that for me.
Yeah, what a career.
And so I was just thinking, how amazing would it be to have been a member of that 0-16 team to
hmm
lead them to the first Roman numeral? But alas,
It was not to
was
be.
not to be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got a lot of friends from Detroit. A lot of friends from Detroit. So my heart goes out to them because they're passionate. They've seen a lot of, to your point, a lot of bad football. They've seen some great football too. They've seen Barry Sanders, you know what I mean? They've seen Megatron. They've seen some great individual performances for the Lions. Detroit is a city with a lot of pride and a lot of heart. You know what I mean? And I think that a part of that love affair with Dan Campbell comes from that, Joe. I think a lot of the Detroit natives feel a kinship towards him particularly. So there was that
he's, he's
aspect of it.
he's just a coach.
And that's the thing, Joe. He is just a coach. Moreover, there were a lot of dumb decisions in that game. Number one, I was I was joking with my LBs. I was like, oh, it's Hendon Hooker time. And no, it wasn't Hendon Hooker time after that concussion, which absolutely was a concussion, by the way. It was actually Teddy Bridgewater time, which was great. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of Teddy Two Gloves, who was coaching high school a few weeks prior. But
Mm-hmm.
like you put Goff back in the game. I don't get that. You know what I mean? And I know the stakes. I know it's about a berth in the NFC Championship on the line, but it's also a berth in the NFC Championship on the line. And then on top of that, the last play, like your last gasp, you put the hands trying to be cute. You put the ball in the hands of your speedster wide receiver for a trick play and allow him to throw a wounded duck hunt, giggling dog pass, and it gets picked off. Duh. Of course, that's what's going to happen there. Like, that QC stuff, and one of the podcasts I was listening to is talking about how a lot of these sought after coordinators who go on to get a coaching job after the fact have horrible stinker games in their last game, like Shane Steichen, Ben Johnson, no, man, that ain't it. Like,
well, you can say the same thing about Glenn too.
Yeah, you could. Now, in Glenn's defense, I will say this. That Detroit secondary looked like that scene in Glory. Like, they were down to their third string. Like, if you look at that depth chart from day one, they were down to their third and fourth string cornerbacks, down to like practice squad linemen. Like, they were out bad. They got injured. They were decimated by injuries. And he was still able to put together, some decent games. That Minnesota game, like, so.
Oh, that was the highlight of the whole season. The Minnesota game was the
that was the
highlight of the season.
As it turns out, like, those old NFL videos, those retrospective, like where the Falcons video would show just one game out of the season because we couldn't show the rest of it because we were so horrible. Like, that'll be their highlight for sure, and that'll be the moral victory for them. But I just don't sometimes, like, you wonder about teams, quote unquote, teams of destiny. And then you look back on it maybe 4 or 5 years later and you see that, like, no, they didn't really have the juice. And, we'll see how they rebuild now, because they're going to have to rebuild. They lost their offense coordinator, their defense coordinator, their cornerback coach, I think, also went somewhere else as a defensive coordinator. So, like, we'll see what happens there. But their window might have been slammed shut, man. I really feel that way. Like, they still got offensive weapons, but you got to also wonder about the confidence of Jared Goff now, because he's got that Super Bowl stinker on his resume. He's got this on his resume now. Like, it might be time
last year.
Yeah, and last year it might be time to hand the reins to Hendon Hooker for real and let him have a shot at it. We'll see. But at any rate, any further thoughts about that game?
Washington was not afraid.
No, let's give them some props, actually. Yeah,
Washington was not afraid.
Man.
They were not afraid.
Terry McLaurin, man, like, you could tell he had been waiting for a moment like that, man. He's the most unsung receiver in the league to me.
Unless you play Madden against somebody who likes to play with Washington, who understands how to use Jaden Daniels, and you will realize that McLaurin usually is going to get past your best corner, usually, and catch the ball.
Yeah, and another thing, I listened to an interview with Bobby Wagner before the game, and you realize that there's some old dogs out there, and every time there's a team that makes a leap, like the Falcons in '98 had Cornelius Bennett. There's always some old dog out there that knows how to win. Exactly. He's got that mind for the game. Probably a future coach. You know what I mean? But like a coach.
He is another coach. Yeah, exactly. It's coach on the field.
On the field.
Absolutely.
And like, he was talking about the confidence that he had in these guys. And like, you can just tell they're building and building and building, and they believe. You know what I mean? And as cliche as that sounds, like, that's a big part of success in pro sports, is like, that momentum. Like, again, Chris, you've been there, man. Like, I keep pointing to trivia is a sport, by the way. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Strategy.
There's momentum there. There's there's a strategy, right? And after a while, when you start churning and you feel like you're in the heads of your opponent, like, they got that. And Dan Quinn, for whatever it's worth, I got to think about, like, this guy had success for the most part with the Falcons, and then they collapsed, and then they got the brand of collapsers, right? But if you look at history, most Super Bowl losers don't go back to the playoffs the next year, but Dan Quinn's Falcons did. They not only went back to the playoffs the next year, they beat the Rams in the first round and lost in a nail biter to the Eagles, the eventual Super Bowl champion Eagles that year. So it wasn't like they just fell completely off. You know what I mean? I got to give him more props in terms of him actually being a decent coach. But, it looks like, and now he's replicating that kind of success with a young, vibrant, hungry team. So I'm eager to see what happens this weekend, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. The next game. So the Eagles and the Rams. I think that one we all picked successfully there, right?
Yeah, we did.
Chris, what were your thoughts on that game?
It was a little bit closer than I expected. I picked the Eagles for, of course, the superficial reason. Rams, the Los Angeles Rams play indoors and out west and so forth. So I said, all right, put them out there in the cold and snow. It should be a cakewalk for the Eagles. Wasn't quite a cakewalk, but they got the job done.
Sure.
Sure. For a moment there, I didn't think they wanted to play this week, but
yeah.
Like they got up too early and they forgot that there's a Hall of Fame quarterback on the other sideline. Who
already, Joe?
Huh?
Already?
Matt Stafford.
Oh, okay, never mind. I thought you were anointing. Because the Rams were up initially, like in that game. I thought you were saying the other way around.
No, I mean back when the Eagles took it over, but then the Rams kept fighting.
They forgot they had. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they never quit. The Rams.
I mean, I'm gonna anoint Jalen at some point, probably, but not.
Oh, I wasn't talking about no Jalen Hurts. I was talking about Matt Stafford. Not after the rant. I just went on great and great. No, I wasn't talking about Jalen Hurts. No, sorry, I meant Matt Stafford. I'm just saying that the Rams never quit.
Yeah.
On that game. Even to Chris's point, he was talking about all the superficial reasons, and I was thinking the same thing. But obviously, in the end, it was football. And that big run by Saquon later, he was super excited, partly because all right, good, we got one on him.
Yeah,
because that guy over there, he's not going to stop throwing the ball at all.
Yeah,
and he's got a green light to just do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah. And he had some monsters he was feeding too. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp looking like
they were coming down with the ball. Like they were against this vaunted Philly defense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Still is vaunted.
That game is a reason why I'm mostly opposed to this trend of going indoors with stadiums or stadia for the purists out there. Where I love it where a city's home weather is that factor.
Yeah, that you earn that home field for that reason, right?
But if Philly had an indoor stadium, I don't think
like
Philly
had an indoor stadium. No, they would have been a track meet up and down the field.
Yeah,
it'd have been a track meet.
Like Philly will never ever do something like that because they know too much about the fundamentals of football.
It's like Buffalo building that new thing with a little half little canopy.
It can always be silly, like Cleveland building a dome stadium.
You have to throw all logic and all that out of the window when you talk about Cleveland. But at any rate,
I wish New York would though. I wish New York would.
Yeah, well,
I really do wish New York would because they could host more things. If they had a roof, they could host more things. It's a great city to do whatever, but they could host more. Even though MetLife is such a pain to get to, they could host more things. If they did that, but actually, MetLife is closer to New York than Levi is to San Francisco or to the Bay.
Yeah.
Now that I say that aloud, but I really kind of wish
it is in New Jersey.
Yeah, it is definitely New Jersey. Well, I mean, the land would be. I don't think there's available stadium space. Somebody would have to be displaced.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, they put apartments in the polo grounds.
Yeah, eminent domain style.
Yeah.
We don't want that. We don't. That would be a bad look for everybody. Yeah. And for a stadium, come on.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't be the first time.
No, it wouldn't, but it would be the first time in this century. Yeah. In 2020, yes. I'm saying in New York in the 2025.
Yeah. Now I gotta talk a little bit more about the Eagles, man, because and all props to the Rams and Sean McVay. Sean McVay proved that he's a hell of a coach this season,
in my opinion.
Yeah, he's a couple more seasons like this, he's in that conversation for future gold jacket. But the Eagles, man, like throwback football, when you talk about a good, solid run game and pounding it down your throat, and then you talk about a defense with monsters. A lot of them coming from a certain college,
here he comes.
But
here he goes.
I mean, like Jalen Carter was, he put on such a strong display. You know what I mean?
He
Like
did.
and that secondary I talked about, which by the way doesn't, now that especially now, like the cornerbacks, Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, who are not Georgia players, also, they were getting eaten up, but they also made key plays when they needed to make key plays.
Jalen saved the game with that
Jalen
sack
absolutely saved the game.
in the fourth quarter with that sack.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Orlovsky. I don't know if you saw Orlovsky's IG. He put or Twitter or his IG. He basically, when he sacked him, Nakua was coming on a slant.
Mm.
I think it was Nakua was coming on a slant, and there was nobody. Everybody was behind him, and nobody was going to stop the catch. And it was six.
That's turnabout, because that's very much like the Super Bowl winning play for the Rams when Aaron Donald made that sack against Joe Burrow when Jamar Chase was wide open.
Yeah. I'm talking about wide. Yes, I know what you mean. I'm talking about wide open. And I thought to myself, like, it was an odd looking sack. Like he ate him up whole. And it was a really odd looking sack, but it really stopped momentum.
Yeah.
And then the next play, I remember he threw it away. I was like, huh? Yeah. That's it. That's how this is going to end. This amazing fight is going to end on a errant pass that's just going to fall to the earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But like, and a lot has been made of Jalen Hurts, and what's going on with him in terms of injuries and just not looking like himself or whatever. But when it came down to it, they made just enough plays.
Yeah.
Just enough plays to do what needed to be done.
Yeah.
So we'll come back we'll talk about those Eagles because they live to fight another day. And then the last game. So by this point, I had transitioned over to the cigar bar, and there was a very visible split in the crowd for that Baltimore Ravens and Buffalo Bills. It reminded me quite a bit, Joe, of and Chris. I wish you had been around for this one. We were at the Bucket, the old Bucket shop across the street from Lenox Mall, and we were watching a Cowboys and Washington football franchise match, and there was some people in there they liberally throwing around the word boy. What kind of name is Eckaban for?
Eckaban. Ebenezer Eckaban.
That kind of thing. Well, in the cigar bar, it was very visibly split along those lines, where people of a certain group were pulling for Baltimore, and a lot of people of a certain group were pulling for the Ravens, for the Bills.
Yeah.
And like the line suggested, it was a close game. Not the outcome I necessarily wanted. One of us picked the Bills, or did we all pick the Ravens?
No, one of us did pick. That was the game that Chris got correct, if I'm not mistaken.
No, surely it wasn't that one. No.
Nobody picked.
Okay.
Picked.
I was about to say,
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Nobody picked.
Well, we were all wrong. Joe, what were your thoughts on that game, man?
It just seemed like they were never comfortable.
Yeah.
It really did. And I don't know. It's like that same Raven team that I thought was going to come in there and just take care of business. I don't think they got the plan. And I think they showed up in the second half at some point, and then came out and just figured we'll be better than everybody else. But then it's like I remember listening to someone that was like a kid. It's like, oh, we'll just go down, we'll score, and then we just need a couple more minutes. We'll just score a couple times, and then we'll win. I was like, well, they're gonna get the ball back too.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do then?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Yeah, exactly. You didn't think of that, right? So it's kind of what it seemed like. Josh didn't do anything. I mean, he scored he ran in a touchdown, but it wasn't like it was some heroic thing. But everything is so exacerbated because we're falling on racial lines with this. But everything is so exacerbated when he does these things, and it's going to be the same thing this week as well. But I didn't think that they just did they made the right plays. I'm not trying to take anything away from Buffalo because they won the game.
Yeah.
I think also I think they did win the game. I'm not going to say that Baltimore scratched on the 8 ball. I won't do that. I won't do that to Buffalo.
No, they certainly didn't, because they were playing for overtime. Let's be real clear about that.
They were, and so I think Buffalo won the game, and I don't want to take away from that. I just obviously Baltimore was uncomfortable. Did Buffalo make them uncomfortable? Yes. But I think they were not mentally focused or prepared to play 60 minutes of championship football.
Sure.
And I think that in and of itself led to them this whole week of dramatic. I mean, I saw Mark Andrews today. He wanted to talk about now I can speak. And in my opinion, and I've never lived through that, in my opinion, that is probably one of the weakest responses I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You could just say, I dropped the ball. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I lost concentration in that moment. I've never done that before, and I'll never do it again. I'll work hard to never do it again. Something to that effect. But he waited 4 days and comes out with a statement and says what he says. I saw today, I watched live Stephen A say, how could you say nothing? Like, what are you talking? You haven't said a word about this. You didn't say a word. Cam defended him like, well, let's take that energy for every other industry. Like, no, idiot. And Orlovsky defended him too, but they were both like, we're quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So we always have to speak. You know what I'm saying? A quarterback can't duck his head out of it. And let it have been a black tight end that dropped that ball and wouldn't say anything. It'd be on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be on Fox News.
Say it. Say it, Joe.
It would be. It would be. But no, it's not. It's not. So they want to focus more on what Lamar said after. Yeah, he had a fumble. He had an interception. But he also got them down the field after throwing balls to Andrews. He also got them down. Yes, but he got them down the field. And then when it was really time to do it all, he drops it like North Dallas 40. And so I was so disappointed in that game. Everyone, and when I was at the national championship game, everyone was hurt. Everyone was hurt about that game. People were like, I don't want to like, we can't talk about the Ravens and Buffalo game. Let's not do that. We can talk about all 3 other games, but we're not going to talk about that game. Like to your point about the divided on racial lines and that thing. I mean, it's not fair to Josh. It's not fair to Lamar. That's just how it is. Yeah. And the media is definitely dog whistling that. They tried a little bit this week, but as much as wrong as Mahomes is in his own house and on so many things and in so many levels, it's not quite the same as someone with the aesthetic of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes is the son of a black man. So
he is. Yeah. But again, it's not quite the same as Baltimore and Lamar Jackson and all these other things. But that game, I just got over it. Today. I just got over it today.
Yeah. Chris, what were your thoughts?
You know, I was deeply disappointed. And I was immediately ready to just take the easy way out and just put it all solely on Mark Andrews. Well, I can't say I'm still completely over it. A few times where I still want to, but aside from the fact that I had Baltimore going all the way, but just the way they lost it still hurts. And just to see Andrews do things he doesn't do any other time.
Yeah.
Or to drop a pass. But then I think about it, like you're talking Buffalo, it's all a half a degree. I've never tried to catch slick football in those conditions. So I said, all right, well, let me stop cussing this man who's actually paid to do it because I couldn't do it for free.
Sure.
And so it was I really wanted it for Lamar. Really wanted it for Derrick Henry. And I think that probably still clouds my thinking of the game overall.
Yeah. I think that, first half was abysmal for Lamar. First half was not his game. He was doing too much. He settled in that second half. And the second half looked like MVP Lamar. He brought him back. You know what I mean? That said, the team with 3 turnovers is going to lose a playoff game. Period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and so it is what it is. You are what your score, what your record says you are, or what the score says you are. So at the end of the day, it was too much that went right for Buffalo, too much that went wrong for the Ravens, and it happens that way sometimes. I think they already played earlier in the season, and we've already litigated that, right? I think if they played 10 times, probably be 6 wins for Baltimore, 4 wins for the Bills. You know what I mean? I think the Baltimore had a better squad overall, but it wasn't about who had the better squad at that point. It was about who had the better game. And the Bills did. They just did. Allen didn't put up numbers. Cook didn't put up numbers. None of the conventional things that you say a winning team does happen for those guys. And yet, they clutched a long field goal. Tyler Bass hitting the long field goal in the snow. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's just your day. And so, I think that's probably what happened there. But it is what it is, man. Buffalo lives to see another day. They ruined our hopes for 4 black quarterbacks in the conference finals. You know what I mean? It was so close. That was one of the narratives we were all like, man, it'd be nice to have 4 black quarterbacks. But at any rate, it is what it is. So these games this week, got a good slate, I must say. I'm very excited about the games this week. A lot of storylines in play. We get to see what the rubber hits the road here. So first game of the week is Sunday at 2 p.m. on your local Fox station or the Fox Sports app will be the Washington Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles. The line there is 6 points in favor of Philadelphia. Has gone down just a little bit. It was 6.5 earlier today. Now 6 points in favor of the hometown Philadelphia Eagles. We'll start with you, Joe. Who you like there?
Going with Washington.
Okay. Talk about it.
I don't want to ride my hot hand with this. I'm riding the hot hand.
Yeah.
I'm riding the hot hand, man.
Yeah.
I think the kid, they don't know anything but winning. I think there's no pressure on them. I think they go out and I don't think he becomes a rookie on Sunday. I think he goes out and he plays a great game. I think they hit on all cylinders, and I think they are now. They did lose that tackle. I believe it was Cosme. They did lose a tackle. That's going to play a factor, no question. And they're coming up against a defense that they know that they split with. But I think they're playing better football right now than they did throughout the season, and I believe in Jaden Daniels.
Okay, all right. Ride the painted pony, let the spinning wheel glide. As our good friend Polly Walnut said. Okay,
yes.
Fair enough.
What do you hear?
Fair enough. Chris, who you like?
Well, Joe literally stole most of my talking points there, but
I'm sorry.
I'm going to go with the Commanders. If I can find something else different than hot hand to say here, but this is the rubber match, which I have no problem with in Sunday ball, but except one time. But I digress. But I think there's no true advantage. I mean, you can talk about the Philadelphia crowd, sure. Washington knows how to play in the cold. I don't think it's supposed to be as bitterly cold this weekend anyway. And so, sorry, collective, I did not check the weather this week. I don't see the major advantage this time. They played a 8-point differential game when they were last at the link. They won by 3 when they played in Maryland, and so I think Washington gets it done on Sunday.
Okay. Both of you guys against Washington, or for Washington rather. I'm picking the Eagles. I like the points that you guys are making. Momentum is a thing. We've just spent a lot of time litigating that, talking about the fact that momentum is takes on a character of its own. And I would not be surprised. I don't want to sound too much like I'm playing both sides. Wouldn't be surprised if Washington won this game. But I think, the experience of the Eagles, having been there, a lot of things you can throw out the window because division opponents, especially when they split, you don't know who's going to win. You know what I mean? But I think that Philly defense has enough speed, has enough discipline to be able to neutralize Jaden. I think that the Philly defense definitely has enough to shut down the run of the Commanders. Eckler, Robinson, whoever. I think that defense is going to make the difference. Now, coaching wise, Sirianni, it is what it is with him. But and I think that Hurts gets it together just enough. I think I would look for some really spectacular plays against the suspect secondary back there. I think that AJ Brown might be a contender to have a stellar game. He's due. And my gut tells me that Philly finds a way to get back into that Roman numeral game. So I'm going with Philly. So we got Washington, Philly. Okay. All right. The AFC Championship game. We have the 9th matchup in the careers of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. The Buffalo Bills are at Kansas City. Kansas City is currently a 1.5 point favorite. I think that game starts at 6:30, 5:30 p.m. Central Time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. On CBS. Romo
and Paramount
Plus. Romo and Nance calling that game. Chris, who you like?
Well, real quick for the collective, it'll be a little bit of winter precip, mid-30s in Philly on Sunday. And for Kansas City, it is going to be about 30 degrees at game time. And, well, my pick comes down one more time to the gambler's fallacy.
Okay.
It is high time for Kansas City to finally lose one of these close games because they've just been tested too long.
Okay.
Give me Buffalo.
Okay. Circling the wagons. Joe.
On several occasions, I have but chosen the team that is not the Kansas City Chiefs.
Uh-huh.
I am tired of the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm tired of the things that keep happening in Kansas City Chief games.
Uh-huh.
I'm tired of the way that I'm tired of Patrick Mahomes' hair. I'm tired of the shots to the booth, to the suite that Caitlin Clark was in this past weekend with. And I have no problem with Caitlin Clark. A phenomenal basketball player, but with Miss Era's tour with Taylor Swift, I'm tired of that. I'm not tired of them. I'm just tired of the showing it all the time. I think it's not about football anymore. Sometimes and it's not the Chiefs' fault. It's not the Chiefs' fault. It's made me be tired of them. Now the calls and all that other stuff. Yeah, that's in my opinion, that's on the Chiefs. But I don't think it's a conspiracy. But they just keep getting calls. Yeah. And to Chris's point, they keep winning these games that are so close. But I keep going against them. I don't think it's this week. This week. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. And I could be the mush. And I hope I am. Mm-hmm. I hope I am. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But no, I'm going to go with the Chiefs at home. And I think this will be the highlight of their season, this game.
Sure.
If you understand what I've said.
Oh yeah, no, I get you.
Yes.
I get you.
At two?
I have thought long and hard. I was actually having a conversation before I loaded up the old Zoom with my good friend PT, and we were talking about this, that, and the other. And I told him I was recording tonight with you guys, and asked him what his pick was, and You know, we had a little discourse. I'm going with the Bills, and this is, you know, this is one I've been kind of going back and forth on. Um, I kind of alluded to it last week where I said not quite this week for the Chiefs, and you know, I know what you're saying, Joe. Maybe next week, but I think this is it for the Chiefs for a lot of the reasons that Chris mentioned. Moreover, I just think that you know, watching that game earlier this season where the Chiefs lost to the Bills, it was a little different. It had a little bit of tenor, a little bit different tenor and tone than previous years where they've lost in the regular season. I think this one kind of had almost a little air of dominance to it. I think that this is going to be one of those years where the Chiefs realize it's going to take more than what they got. The defense has held up its end of the bargain. The offense has not. They keep making, you know, I mean, you know, they've drafted some solid players, but they haven't really made the moves I think that they need to make to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. You know, Hollywood Brown never impressed me at all when he was with the Ravens. I just didn't get it. I didn't see that in him. I think he played with the Cardinals previously to that. Played with the Cardinals and the Ravens, right? Never saw it in him. Never saw it in him. Xavier Worthy, sure. You know, Rashee Rice could be totally different if he was playing. We'll never know. You know what I mean?
We'll never know.
Kareem Hunt is one I'm pulling for. I actually would like to see them get to the Super Bowl with Kareem Hunt. I'd like to see them win a Super Bowl with Kareem Hunt. But he and Pacheco, not the answer. They've been struggling at running back for years. I don't, you know, the Bills, on the other hand, James Cook looks great. Josh, for whatever you want to say about him, he slings that ball around and gets it to the guy who needs to get it. You know what I mean? Whether it's Khalid Shakir, whether it's the shoeless Mac Hollins, whether it's Dalton Dalton Kincaid or Dawson Knox, either one of those guys. You know what I mean? Like it just happens for him. And then Von Miller still has a spark to him. Matt Milano, who was injured towards the end of that game, by the way. I don't know what it seemed like he was a limited participant in practice so far this week, but I would be shocked if he didn't play. DeMar Hamlin, who's finally playing like in like starting, you know what I mean? Like the Bills. It's the Bills for me. I just can't see Kansas City squeaking out another one. I think, you know, thankfully, hopefully, I pray it will shut down all these conspiracy theorists out here. Maybe they'll shift towards some new conspiracy, the avian flu, whatever they want to be conspiratory about. But I got the Bills. So
yeah, you hear that, Clark Hunt? You gonna give your daddy's trophy to the Bills?
I mean, you know, hey, that would be somewhat ironic itself. But yeah, man. So we got one more week of football talk next week, man. And then, you know, this is the greatest weekend, but it's also kind of one of the sadder weekends that we've made mention of it the past 2 years.
Yes, it is this is the bad time, in the words of Henry Hill.
Thank you, Henry.
Hendrix. Hendrix. Yes.
So Joe, what I propose is this. And Chris,
what do you propose?
Chris, this pertains to you as well.
Without any further to do.
Next week we got the traditional 2-week layoff between the Super Bowl and the conference championship games.
Oh, we're not going to go over our feelings on the Pro Bowl teams.
No. As much as I enjoy
it back,
that was a
move
joke.
It back. That was intentional with my
bring it back to Hawaii. Yeah. I propose that we spend the time next week discussing a film we said we would discuss with Chris.
Okay.
I say we go back to our roots of the Open Tabs podcast and talk about and lean on me.
I'm with it. I'm there.
Chris, how you feeling about that?
Yeah.
Done it. Consider it done.
Oh yeah.
I think that, you know, we can definitely fill that space in that time. So ladies and gentlemen, next week we'll be back with our thoughts on the games, and then we'll run right straight into.
And the beauty is we all chose different Super Bowls.
Yeah. So,
which I've already sent you the art.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, because I need to renew my annual grievance before we break camp for the evening.
Sure.
If
so many wires,
Mr. Goodell could just bring back those beautiful pewter and oak Lamar Hunt trophies and George Halas trophies, and get rid of these doggone wiffle footballs. I get it, Tiffany made and Company. Tiffany made a very beautiful pewter and oak trophy. Bring it back.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris Lee. I don't know if there's anyone else in the country other than you and me who have such strong feelings on something that we will never, ever probably be associated with, personally. But I couldn't agree more. And if the NBA can revamp all their trophies and do a wonderful job in doing so, not to mention, the naming of different things and create all new categories, why can't the NFL?
Yeah, sure.
Like, why?
The names are fine.
No. I'm not talking about for like player of the game. No,
I like the
MVPs
revamp of the
revamp the whole. Like, give an MVP for the there's the Larry Bird and the Magic Johnson, right? There's the two. Give it MVP. Make it MVP of the NFC game and the AFC game. Make it make sense. Make it count.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, Chris, that when it had it was a more of a substantial trophy than the wiffle ball. It's so small. It's like smaller than an actual football. It's so small that it's like disregarded.
I'm trying to remember. I think it's
almost as bad as
the year the Patriots won one of them, and they just handed it off like, get this mess out of my. You hold on to it. It wasn't like passing it around. Like,
yeah,
I don't have time for this.
Yeah, second place trophy, essentially. It reminds me of when my buddy, a good friend of mine, I won't name him, he was leading the softball team for the intramurals at Meharry for his particular fraternity and their corresponding sorority, and they got second place, and he threw the trophy into the nearby creek. Like, those wiffle ball trophies are completely, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants that. Nobody needs that. At least the old trophies had that symbolism of gritty, old school football. They make you think, okay, oak. It's something to be said about oak, and just the time it took to make the look. I mean, you could use a 3D printer to make the new trophy, right? That old trophy, no, some old grizzled guy had to sit there and carve it out and put some artistic craft to it. So while you were having that discussion, I had to avert certain disaster. Joe saw all those wires. They came into play. We almost lost Detroit, as Gil Scott Heron said. We almost lost the podcast.
Your battery's about to die.
Oh yeah. Apple was so kind to let me know.
Yes. Great. Great work.
Y'all out here watching this, understand, we've said it time and again, we'll continue to say this is a labor of love here. We don't have the Craig Horlbecks of the world, Bobby Wagner's of the producers. This is just us three here, man. It's sweat and brawn that creates this podcast.
That it is, brother.
Yeah, man.
You can purchase the replicas of the NFC and AFC championship trophies. So the old ones, you can purchase the replicas.
Oh, you can purchase. Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Joe, I want to give a shout out real quick to your background there. That was one of my favorite Super Bowls. Not necessarily the game itself was a blowout.
It was.
But you had the great Michael Jackson performance at halftime.
Did.
I went to arguably my first real adult Super Bowl party with
Mm.
Euless Moore and his family. We
Mm.
went. They had one of those board numbers with like the numbers game where you pick a box.
Squares.
The squares, exactly. I was like, hold on, what is this? And the odor of chitlins in there. What I mean, it's like I was like, yeah, I'm with the grown folks for this Super Bowl. That was a very good coming of age Super Bowl, and the antics of one Michael Irvin. We've discussed this many a time, Joe, how much I enjoyed the varying celebrations of Michael Irvin, from the PG celebrations to the the rated R celebrations.
Yes, and the X ones.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Playmaker will
moved.
celebrate.
We moved. Yes, he will. We moved houses on the day before the game.
Yeah.
And my father went to, and we were getting the last things from the house. We moved on a Saturday, and I had applied to college too.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it was a senior in high school, and this is Super Bowl 27, January of '93, and the I remember I got into Hampton the day we moved, and I remember we got in it. So I got the letter,
Mm-hmm.
and it came in a scroll. It was like a certificate. It came in a
Of
scroll.
course it did.
The
Of course it
scroll.
did.
And I remember the mover said, "Man, you going to college? You going to college?" I was like, "Yeah, of course I'm going to college." But then it hit me like, "Oh, well, maybe that's not as just natural for him." And so he was very proud of me. And I had to stop myself and say, "Hey, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate your pride in me, in that moment." And
Yeah,
he was just moving
absolutely.
us. I never saw him again. Never saw him before that time. Never saw him again. But I remember my dad getting we were moving things back and forth to the cars after the
Uh-huh.
big stuff was moved, could put the TV down. And then dad went out to Best Buy, got an antenna because the cable people weren't coming until like Monday or Tuesday. I
Uh-huh.
remember my dad had to get an antenna,
Uh-huh.
and we were fidgeting with this antenna, man. And all I remember is probably 3 minutes before Imberg says something like, "And now welcome to," I just remember it turning on. It was just snow, and I was like, "Oh, we got to go to somebody's house."
Yeah.
And the exasperation in my father over having to leave and go to someone's house to watch this game. People
Yeah.
who had offered, by the way, but no,
Sure.
we weren't going to do that. And then, hey, it was crystal clear, and to
Mm.
watch that,
Mm.
we were down. Dallas was down 7-0 early,
Yeah.
and then they just went on a tear.
Open
Uh,
the floodgates on those
yeah,
days.
yeah, and a tear. And I'll never forget Kenny Norton putting his fist underneath Kenneth Davis's um, helmet and underneath his face mask and pushing him back as he was at the one. And then they hit Kelly, knocked Kelly out, and hey man, it was off to the races. After that, it was just turnovers and touchdowns and just off to the races.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh, we're 1-15 4 years ago,
Uh-huh.
and then you win the Super Bowl, and like this makes no sense. And then it felt like every day the air in Dallas at that point tasted like icing.
Like icing. That is amazing.
I cannot describe how special that was. It just felt like the icing on the cake, but it felt like you could
Yeah.
like everything was good. Everyone was happy. There was
Yeah.
nothing. You could not get us down. You could
Mm-hmm.
not. Nothing mattered.
Yeah.
The Cowboys won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The city is celebrating. It's amazing. Everybody's bought in,
Yeah.
even the haters. Everybody's bought in. They're lovable. They're likable. They weren't as annoying yet. Jerry wasn't really as annoying yet,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it was like, all right, this is amazing. And then I go
Yeah.
to college, and then people hate him, and I'm like, huh? Why do you hate us? What do we do? You know what I mean? It was such a rude awakening of
Yeah.
the rest of the world, particularly when many of my best friends, early best friends in college, were from NFC East cities,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden, then they open the '93 season against Washington and lose, and then they lose to Buffalo, and then They signed Emmett, and there's nothing like a good panacea for whatever ails you, like going out to Arizona,
Yeah.
and playing the Cardinals, and so so they beat the Cardinals and they get on track and they finish 12-4 and win the East on the last game of the season,
Yeah.
and go on win a Super Bowl on a shortened year.
Yeah.
In Atlanta because there was no week between the games for some
That's
reason.
right. That was the last year of that, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was no week. There was no 2 weeks between the games. It was really weird.
Yeah.
There were 2 weeks. In '93 there were 2 weeks between the games, but for some reason, I'm saying in January '93, but in January '94 there was no break, which was great. Which is great because you just keep it going, you know, and so the story goes the way it goes. But this one right here with Michael Jackson and all the other I think it was I can't remember who sang the national anthem. I don't know why I thought it was Vanessa Williams, but I think it was Vanessa Williams. But no, she sang in 30. I know you're gonna look it up, Chris. Please let me know. But it was just a cool.
This is for 27, right?
Yes, sir. It was just a cool day. It was beautiful outside. It was in LA. I mean, I'm in Pasadena. Well, God bless. In Pasadena. So
that's where you at.
That's why I don't know how to say LA. This is literally Pasadena is above is like behind my head right now.
Yeah.
But just amazing.
Yeah.
And then you realize you're in the big time.
Yeah.
Garth Brooks.
They do. Yeah. You sure it was 93 or not 94?
Look the year before.
Yes. For the one at the Rose Bowl was Garth Brooks.
Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. Because the next year, that Super Bowl, the halftime was all country singers.
It was Travis Tritt.
Yeah, it was Travis Tritt, Clint Black.
No,
Clint Black sang at halftime. The next year, I was thinking about halftime. I'm just saying it's interesting that they went with Garth Brooks. I think they knew what was going to happen.
Natalie Cole sang it for 28.
Well, at least they kept it black. That was another thing I was going to say. Atlanta said, we have this national championship. Guess what? We're going to America the Beautiful with the Spelman College Good Club. They did. We're going to start Spangled Banner with Coco Jones. Then we're going to bring out Bernice King.
Well, even though they host her for the coin toss.
Yeah, what happened? We were all looking like, what happened? Because
I was watching it on TV,
figure it out.
And
so I thought she was supposed to flip it.
She's supposed to, and then he did the flip and the catch, and I was like, okay, why was she even out here then?
I thought that was odd myself, and we all looked at each other like, what happened?
It came across odd on TV, or from my perspective.
I couldn't tell what was happening. I literally couldn't tell what was happening. But I was, eating a lot of food. At the time, I was eating a lot of food.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, man. Well, so next time we will discuss the outcome of these games. We will discuss the great John Avildsen film, Lean on Me.
Very East Side.
Yeah. I should have known it was Avildsen because it looks just like Karate Kid.
It looks like Karate Kid, which looks like Rocky.
Yeah, it looks like Rocky. Yeah, I should have known it was Avildsen. It's always had a thin patina of. It's like it smells like grease in every movies.
Yeah, man, but it's a lot to unpack in that film. So
I don't know why a Stanley Clark theme from Boys in the Hood was just. They used to play it every Sunday night on WHUR.
Really?
When I was a freshman at Howard.
Like how Clark does the Love Supreme, that kind of deal? Yes,
they would play. This guy would just talk over like the Stanley Clark. And I would be in tears, like missing home. It would be the worst thing. I was like, why are they talking? This is only associated with Ricky dying and Doughboy walking across the street, and he's going to die 2 weeks later. Like, this is only associated with that.
They either don't know, don't show,
or don't care about what's going on in the hood. They don't. Maybe there's some trying to smoke me. You still got one brother left, man.
Pour one out for Darren.
Darren, yes.
Okay.
How was he named Darren? How was he named Darren? That's so weird. But anyway.
Man, fellas. Well, it's always a pleasure, man. Until the next time.
One brother left.
Everybody can find us on the various forms of podcasting, Anchor, Apple. We always post the links in our Instagram story. If you're not following the Instagram story, the Instagram page for the Open Tabs Podcast, you really should. Open Tabs Podcast, Instagram, the great graphics by Joe Carlos himself.
Thank you.
We post them as soon as we get it up. And you'll find us also on YouTube. And now on Spotify, we got the video.
Got the video on them.
Got the video on the Spotify now. You know what I mean?
I'm doing the Lando Calrissian dude.
Nah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. His buddy, like his
buddy up there with Lando. I'm sorry, I just had to say that. I apologize. That's really bad. I'm sorry.
It's quite okay.
Sorry.
That joke reached a certain group.
Yes,
and that certain group got it all the way.
All three of them. Yes.
Yes. Any final thoughts, guys, before we go?
Thank you, as always, Calvin, for your amazing leadership and brilliant insights. Thank you, Chris, for your outstanding work and for your amazing demeanor. Shout out, happy birthday, well, at least on the East Coast, to Ladrigus Murray today.
Hey!
On the 24th is the birthday of Ladrigus Murray. January 24th, 2025 is his birthday.
Thank gosh for Lodi, man.
Yes, thank gosh for Lodi. So shout out to him for his birthday.
Hey, let me say, okay, we got to say a word about him now since he brought him up.
Okay.
The United Negro College Fund.
Yes.
A lot of us, I would not be employed, I can say with a lot of certainty, without the hard work of Lodi and what he does with that institution as a whole has done. But Lodi is a fantastic. I mean, you know, we go all the way back to Morehouse and you know the game of politics at Morehouse. And you know, he always was one of my favorites of the young Turks, as we called them.
Yes.
So
yes, the Young Turks.
It fills me with pride. Happy birthday, Lodi. We love you here on the Open Tabs Podcast.
Love you, Lo.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. Well, to the collective and everyone else, we'll see you the next time.
Mahalo and aloha.
Peace out.